Here we go. Let's do a little talking about filming for advertising. That can include commercials, online videos, social media promos, information videos, a whole gamut of things. And the reason I want to talk about this is sort of twofold. One, if you pursue a career with cinema as your basis, you will more than likely at some point work on a commercial, promo video, information video, social media video, something of that kind. There's a lot of connective tissue between the two worlds. So it's important to know that. The other is a lot of you expressed interest or plan on going into that realm of shooting commercials. So the idea is, learn the mastery of framing, editing, pacing, all that stuff in this class, and it can be applied to multiple different disciplines. That's what's really cool about going into film. That's why it's kind of a really boom right now for young, we say filmmaker, but we mean videographer might be also a good term to use. Somebody who's capable of filming different types of commercials, types of film, type of advertising. It just becomes a multi-discipline sort of talent that you can have and you need to hone. So let's try and do that this week. All right, let's just kind of dig down into it. There's a lot of this that's going to be stuff that you're going to watch on your own time in the PDF version of this lecture, which is posted in the module for the commercial assignment. So you'll need to go back and rewatch them on your own, so that we're not spending our whole time here, watching videos together. You can kind of do it at your leisure. So the first question I'd ask you is, why do we need commercials? Well, TV operates on making money, right? And whatever the case may be, TV, Facebook, social media, they need that revenue stream to operate, right? That's why we get the pop-up videos on YouTube. Unless you buy into a membership or something like that, it's a way for companies to get their information out there. Where do we see commercials? Literally everywhere. Um, the one that's getting me, and I know this isn't necessarily like um, a video commercial, but even in football or soccer, how much you see company logos just all over the place. So video advertising is really powerful. It's a powerful way for a company to get their information across in just any capacity. It's there have been tons of studies. When I go and talk to clients, I show them the statistics of how well video commercials help um, gain interest for that company, help increase revenues. And the nice thing is we have analytics, and I can show people. I can be like, look, this commercial got this many views, this commercial got that many views, and things like that. So we have a good idea of how many people are seeing things, especially when it comes to advertising on YouTube, social media, things like that. You could get the analytics on television, of course, but it can be kind of expensive. So, what are some of those parallels between film and commercials? I'll have you watch this one first. This is an American Express commercial. Uh, the director over here is actually a real director. That's Wes Anderson. I think a couple of you mentioned that some of his films are your favorite film of all time. Um, the Grand Hotel, Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, Mr. Fox, so before Mr. Fox. I can't think what it is now off the top. Anyway, that's him. So he did an American Express commercial, and he incorporated his style of filmmaking into it. So this is one I actually saw on TV a little years and years and years ago. And I was thinking about this, how he incorporates his filmmaking style into a commercial. But there have been a lot of directors. I think you'd be surprised how many directors shoot commercials, like film directors. Christopher Guest is one of my favorite directors. He does a lot of mockumentaries. He actually did some of the Yoplait commercials with his wife, Jamie Lee Curtis. So, again, if it's a discipline that you learn in filmmaking, it can translate over into other money streaming revenues for you. So, you can watch one at your leisure. The characteristics of commercial. Now, these aren't always set in stone. Very, very few things in film of any kind is set in stone. But you want to be careful how you select things. So Something like generally you see high key lighting. We don't want these dark, edgy shadows on a character. We want them bright. They're probably using the product that you're endorsing, so they want to be happy, bright. Um, Very simple in the camera setups. Like you don't want people to like read in too much psychologically about what's going on. Now that said, let's say you're doing something like an intense workout video, like Gatorade or Nike or something like that, and they're working out in a dark gym, right? Okay, yeah, that's low key lighting and it works, right? We get it. Like it's tough, it's hard, it's dark. We're putting in the effort. Um, you know, so if you go into it with a realistic approach and a reason for doing it, yeah, you can change up the lighting scheme. It could be low key, but I would be consistent. Be consistent with what you're doing. And generally speaking, if you're going to a neighborhood mom and pop shop or some local organization to do a commercial for them, they're probably not going to want something edgy. They're going to want something bright and beautiful. So typically you'll see a commercial at 30 frames per second. I'm sorry, I should have typed that one in there, as opposed to 24. So there's less motion blur, and it looks a little bit more lifelike. Center framing. When stuff's in the center, it's drawing our eye a little bit more to what's going on. It keeps our attention focused on something. Again, not always, but we wouldn't want to go to extremes on something like this unless we're planning on putting text somewhere. Like this gentleman here, if he was way over to the right, it might be more balanced in the thirds. Remember the rule of thirds that we learned? Like you kind of divide the frame up tic tac toe. Yeah, he might be on more or less one of those vertical and horizontal intersections, and we're putting some text up, maybe right in this area here. Okay, yeah, then that works. Typically, you'll see motion moving left to right. This is probably one that's definitely not an always, but it makes sense. In America, Western culture, we read left to right. So motion kind of going that direction tends to make more sense. Again, not always. The camera could be following action or something like that. It's panning with some sort of movement, or whatever. But typically, you'll see that. Again, not always. Very specific running times. So with a commercial, a company is going to buy a certain amount of time if they're planning on, it being on television specifically. And typically, TV sells in 15-second packages. So you can have a 15-second, 30-second, and that's a lot of what you'll see. Nothing longer than that. And you can kind of go through and time it, but it is down to the frame of how much can be in there. So if it's 30 seconds, it's not 30 seconds in one frame, it's exactly 30 seconds. Typically, you'll see a new shot every 3 seconds. You have 3 seconds to process what's going on, and then on to something new. So watch a commercial and try and count how many different cuts are you seeing. It tends to be very staged, obviously. There's no impromptu commercial. And then the color scheme is the branded color scheme. So like what are the logo colors, things like that. Maybe whatever company this is for, the blue of the jacket or the red of the folder here, or something like that, would match something in the company. Probably more likely like a blue. And here's a good example: this yellow, something that keeps your mind thinking of whatever that company is. So what do I mean by that? Color schemes, Kit Kat, McDonald's. We kind of have a very specific color palette going with it, that highlights what it is. We also have these things at the end, sometimes these taglines, whatever it might be. So we another characteristic are people talking in the actual commercial? Is there voiceover, or does it need sound? Probably yes, in some capacity. I don't know if I've ever heard a completely silent commercial. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Um, but it's again what is necessary for the advertisement. And a lot of this comes down to what does the client want. That's a phrase. If we were going more in depth in what this is, I'd be saying over: give the client what they want, not what you want artistically. You can try and persuade them why it's a better idea to do something artistically, but in the end, you have to go with what they want. So placing any text, you should know ahead what text will be in the commercial. That way you can plan where it goes, when it goes, and how much of the screen it's taking up. So that's where planning your shots and knowing that negative space. By negative space, I mean if this gentleman was far over in one direction, all of this would be negative space that would be good for using some kind of text. Also, when you have this nice shallow depth of field where it's kind of blurred out, that's a good place to put text, keeping in mind your font color because you have dark and you have light. So it becomes hard to find the good font color where you can see it. But a lot of times when this becomes blurred, it gives you a good little area of negative space to utilize. So this is a commercial I did for a company called Lumo Exchange, and this brings into voiceover. Is there any talking? This one just has talking, and I actually fought for there to be voiceover that's going along with the text. So you can see we put text. He's texting back and forth with his sister in this commercial. And you can watch that, and you can kind of see how we planned um, for any text on screen and how we did it. And you can make up your own opinion. Would voiceover have helped it or not? Ultimately, they didn't want it because the way that they were going to be initially showing this advertisement was at a film festival that would just be running between films going on. So they thought it would be better without voiceover because it would just get annoying playing over and over. That was a reason. Again, make the client happy. A call to action is a piece of content intended to induce a viewer, reader, or listener to perform a specific act, typically taking the form of an instruction or directive. So that's kind of what you see at the end of a lot of things. Go to our website, click here now and buy, call this number for whatever. That's a call to action, right? That gets you kind of now you've watched the information we've provided. Here's your next step. And you can see that this is the very first commercial I did when I was a grad student down in Pine Bluff. This again is a good representation of just giving the client what they want. I felt that some of the people that they wanted to showcase maybe could have done with like a haircut and a shave. Not this gentleman, he did fantastic, but you'll see it. It was like, but that's what the client wanted. You got to give them what they want. The platforms for commercials are just all over the place. And again, when I say commercials, I'm also talking about the information and things like that. But we have TV, social media like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, uh, Snapchat, all of those. They all come with their own set of rules. Facebook, especially, is a little dicey. I feel like Mark Zuckerberg wakes up and changes the rules of how the advertising works. So if you go to a client, find out what um, where they intend on uh, playing the commercial, and then utilize it to it. Look up what are Facebook's rules right now for video advertising, and that might be time restrictions, music restrictions, especially like you cannot just put a um, Ariana Grande song in a commercial and not think that YouTube or Facebook won't either take it down, mute it, or something like that. So you got to look at all those things. The big one is time restrictions. There's different lengths of commercials kind of come with their own set of rules. So you want to know what's going to get your client the best bang for their buck, and they'll appreciate that you've gone that extra step. You know, if it's just a restaurant, they're not people who are probably investigating these things, and they'll appreciate that you brought the information to them. So it makes you look more professional and more up to date. If you do intend on going into something like social media management, this is very crucial that you understand the ins and outs of getting the most out of commercials for a company. There's website marketing, and then of course just little video ads. So there's platforms everywhere to get people the information they need. There's obviously some kind of prestige with being on television in that you feel like you know at this time or around a time that your commercial will be showing to everyone, presumably. So that's why things like Super Bowl ads they're so expensive because they know the viewership's going to be tremendously high. So getting those local ads in and things like that, stations have to set aside a certain amount of time for local ads. So people want to grab those juicy little bits of uh, time. Of course, even something like Panthers TV, we had um, Corner Clubhouse, and then we had a car dealership that we did ads for. So a lot of people want ads, even for something like Panthers TV. Okay, so here are a couple more that you can watch back to back. It's the same place. One is more of the traditional commercial. One's more of a story commercial. So watch these and then think, where would you show them? And would this be a good TV? Would this be good social media? Would this be good YouTube? Where would it be? Play both. Okay. And then always keep your audience in mind. Make your client happy, but know your audience. Um, Targeting that audience with why is it being done? Why do we want to reach this certain audience? And keeping things goal oriented towards that audience becomes hugely important. So going back to um, the spaces storage that you'll watch, just to kind of give you a little background without giving it away. We wanted to do a traditional commercial. That's what the client wanted. And we actually packaged with the deal. We said, okay, for X amount more, they had such a unique story about their company. And we thought that people hearing that story would also really help. It wouldn't be enough time to maybe get it as a 30-second TV commercial, but it is something for their landing page, um, on their website or Facebook or any kind of social media. It would be a good one for people to watch on those. So hopefully I didn't give too much away, but you can kind of see what we did with those, and we had kind of goals in mind with both. All right, so information videos. We did this for the small business of Little Rock. They had awards. This is a company called the Root Cafe. Again, information videos a little bit different than commercials in that they are there strictly to provide information in hopes that it takes you one step further with something. So the Root Cafe, again, this is kind of a story centered information video. This is one we shot for Southern Living, how to flock a Christmas tree. I had no idea how to do it. We weren't the talent in the design, we just shot it. But again, you see these how-to videos all the time, or um, cooking videos. We did a ton of cooking videos, and that just gets more traction to a web page that can build up that they have their own commercials within things, but it's kind of selling things. It wasn't like buy a Southern Living subscription or anything like that. It was just straight information that generates revenue by more clicks, um, and getting more traction to their website and their different pages and stuff like that. So again, you can kind of see the difference in both. Watch them. So plan for your client, make realistic goals, have everything written down, storyboard, shot list, and things like that. Really go in. I think actually photo boards are crucial, that you get every shot you want to get because it has to be precise. You have very little wiggle room in the edit. Shorter is always better. Even if you're doing a story, 2 minutes. I mean, you could tell any company's story in 2 minutes, but less is more. Even if you can get that to 1 minute, great. Um, making it, people often aren't going to sit and watch ads for a very long amount of time, unless they're really compelled by it. Bring your own creativity, bring your own artistic sensibility to what you do as well. And then I've left for you here too. These are two student examples of commercials that were done in the past. This is in longer form. In fact, this is a good example. Like, I always wish they went back and made this a minute and relit it because it was just like really dark. And then here's a 30-second example as well. So that is commercial shooting in a nutshell. And I hope you enjoy the assignment that goes with it. Go back to the PDF so that you can watch these. Again, that'll be in the modules. You should be able just to click on each one and kind of watch at your own leisure. All right.